So I'll get this started. Sergeant Polseno and I worked midnight last night. I'm here till 8 a.m., but Caleb's here, and he's going to do this and then go home and get some sleep maybe, or no, he's going to stay awake. Never mind. My name is Lukas. I'm a lieutenant here at the Westboro Police Department. Some of you may know me, some of you may not, but just a welcome to everyone. Thank you all for coming. I'm glad to see so many faces here today. I'm with Lieutenant Shipwright back there, Officer Faria is back there, and Corporal MacNeil is here behind me. So this morning we're going to have Sergeant Polseno, most of you know is our K9 officer for the department. So he's going to do a demonstration with Lukas. He's going to talk about Lukas and his working dog that he has, and kind of some of the stuff that he goes through. And then Corporal MacNeil is going to talk about
the corporal position, some scam calls coming around.
The corporal position. So as I think this is the first time, I know you guys have met and spoken with Joe Savati, who is a corporal, but the corporal position is new within the past year. We've instituted a corporal position, so if you guys have any questions about the corporal position, Trevor is going to go over that as well. So if you have some questions about that, then he'd be happy to answer them for you. Just a quick thing on the department. So we're into April. April brings motorcycles and kids out on school, out riding their bikes and playing around and everything else outside. So we just remind everyone to keep vigilant when driving around. Crosswalk safety. Most of the places in town now have flashing lights on crosswalks. However, when you see people using the crosswalks, a lot of times they don't hit the button. Everyone wants the flashing lights, but sometimes they don't hit the button to activate the lights. So just keep an eye out on that. The kids are really out downtown, especially when there's a half day. You'll see an influx of high school kids. You'll see, wow, okay. You'll see an influx of high school kids and middle school kids that are around when school gets out a little bit early. So downtown, especially when they have a half day, is inundated with children. So, and they are not the best at looking both ways and making sure that cars are stopping before they enter the intersection. So it's something to keep an eye out on. But without further ado, I'm going to give you Sergeant Polseno, who's going to go over the K9, and Lukas. Y'all had to finish your food, I believe, before Lukas came in. Otherwise, Lukas would be very full. So, oh, Andy has of course. Yep, Andy has a question. Sure.
I was just curious if you guys have a tip that something's going to happen here today, because first time 2 lieutenants, 3 officers. Why so many? You know something we should know?
Andy, if you would come to these more often, then you would know that actually at some point we actually have 2 lieutenants, a deputy chief, and a chief sometimes come to this. You were busy on those times.
But no one's covering the streets then if everybody comes.
It's a quiet town.
And see, it's a quiet town. See, he said the Q word, not me.
Right.
He said it. I didn't say it. He said it. I can't be held responsible for it.
Okay.
So, all right. Do you want this, baby? You don't need to.
Can everybody hear me? I'm actually better. I feel like I'm better if I yell at everybody, so I'm going to try not to yell and just talk. I'm not used to a microphone. It's only a few times I've had a microphone. But my name's Sergeant Caleb Polseno, Westboro Police Department. I've been with Westboro since 2012. I was promoted to sergeant last summer, and I'm the K9 handler for the department. My dog's name is Lukas with a K. So if you send them a card, it's a K, not a C. I'm very finicky about that. We've had Lukas since 2019, so he just turned 8 in March. I got him when he was about a year and a half old. He was a little bit on the older side, so he just turned 8. Hopefully we can get another year, maybe 2 at the most, out of him before we, sorry about that, before we retire him and we move on. I've been here a couple times with Lukas. I see a lot of familiar faces. So I'm not going to do the whole chapter book on the K9 program. I figure I'll do an abbreviated one this morning for you. Lukas is a patrol dog and a narcotics dog. So as far as training, when we first got the dog, I went to 6 months training for the patrol school, which the patrol school does things like tracking, article searches. So he's trained to, say somebody dropped something, they were running away from a crime, they dropped a knife or a wallet or something. He's trained to use his nose to go out, search areas, and indicate by either sitting or laying down on an item. So that's actually something that comes in handy pretty often. Handler protection, so he is a bite dog. I don't like to use the word bite because really what Lukas is doing, if he is to bite somebody, is he's apprehending them. So the apprehension work is a lot of what we do, especially in the initial 6 months of him being trained. I can have him out, if we were searching somebody, he's trained to lay down, stand by, watch the situation. If somebody were to start fighting with me, he'll apprehend them so that we can get handcuffs on them. So the first 6 months is just the patrol side. It's just that sort of work. And then we go to another 6 week class, which is for narcotics. So he's also certified in detecting narcotics. It's about half a dozen smells that they do for narcotics. It's probably not as many as you might think. 5 or 6 or 7, depending on what classes you go to and who the trainer is. Most police dogs are either what we call single purpose, which would be they do just one job, so just patrol work. Lukas is what we call a dual purpose, so he does patrol work and narcotics. Dogs either do patrol and narcotics or patrol and bomb dog, a bomb dog. So when you see like the dogs at the airport and things like that, dogs either do bomb or drugs. They don't do both. So if you have a patrol dog, then you can decide we want to do bombs or we want to do drugs. Now with that said, bomb dogs isn't exactly what it seems. It is explosives, but especially around here, we don't have an airport, we don't have a stadium. So there's neighboring towns that have bomb dogs, but really they're used for firearms and ammunition. So if somebody had tossed a gun in the woods or had a gun in an apartment or something that we had a search warrant for, the bomb dog can go in and will indicate on a firearm. The bomb dogs, they train on 25 different odors. If you remember, I was just saying narcotics dogs train on 5, 6, or 7 odors. The bomb dogs train around 25 odors. So that class is about twice as long. It's like a 10 or 12 week class on top of the 6 months you do for patrol. So that's the specialty of K9 really for police departments, at least in this area. We train with Boston PD. Boston PD has about 170 dogs in the training group. So Boston PD has, the last number I heard was somewhere around 25 dogs themselves. So Boston has, I believe, 3 dogs at least every shift, morning through night, all day. But through their program, they train other municipalities, sheriff's offices go there. So that's why there's 170 altogether that train together every month. So every month, Lukas and I go 1 day training just in patrol, just a refresher. We call it in-service. And then 1 day for the narcotics, same thing. And on those training days, we're just refreshing stuff that we've done. Some of the stuff we've done hundreds of times, but we're repeating it over and over. And at this point, Lukas is 8. He's done things, exercises and training hundreds of times. So when he gets out of the car, I almost don't even have to look at him. He knows, he's like, oh, I know what we're doing. You know what I mean? So as far as training, I know we already had a conversation earlier, Dominic, right?
Yes.
He was asking about the training, and one of the things he brought up, which is an important thing to think about, is the mentality of a working dog versus a dog you might have at home. So to start, Lukas was imported from the Czech Republic. The working line of dogs over there goes back before World War I, and the lineage is, figure dogs are 10 years, so there's dozens of years of working dog in their blood. So great-great-great-great-grandfather Lucas was a working dog in the war probably somewhere. So it's a different dog than a German Shepherd you might get, you know, at the next town over for your family. They're just it's a different nature. So Lucas he's very social as far as police dogs go. Some police dogs don't necessarily like people other than their handler. Lucas is very social. Like, I could bring him in here in theory and let him mingle with everybody. Obviously, it's not the perfect situation with all the food and drinks and everything around because he doesn't have house manners. Because he doesn't live in a house. He lives in his own house in my backyard. So he's not like intermingled in my house with my family. So when I bring him in places, in buildings, he's usually training and he's jumping on tables and looking for stuff, knocking stuff over. So that's a main reason. Trying to think where we should go next. I could talk about this for hours, so I'm trying to condense. Does anybody have any questions just in regards to the Dominic?
I have a little Shetland sheepdog, and she, in the morning, she will hear the birds flying. She literally can hear a bird flapping. Dogs can hear almost as well as they can smell, better than human beings. Is there any use for that ability?
So his question is there any use for the ability of dogs hearing? I can tell you from what we do, we don't use the dog's hearing at all, other than, you know, giving commands and things like that. Everything that we do is nose work.
Do you notice Lucas can hear very well?
I don't know. We can ask him when I bring him in.
He's my dog.
I haven't noticed anything, you know, extraordinary or deficient with his hearing.
Okay.
But everything that we do is nose related.
Okay.
Other than handler protection, where he's like watching somebody to see if somebody wants to fight or something like that.
Well, I was thinking hearing is like if you're trying to locate somebody in the woods and they're yelling and maybe only the dog can hear it.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but to that point, when you're doing nose work, and this is something that happens quite often actually, if we're tracking somebody, the dog is using probably 95% of his brain is just his nose. So if we're out in the woods tracking somebody, he's not even necessarily looking at the surroundings. Everything he's processing is through the scent. So what happens many times is the dog will bring you to an area that, you know, if somebody was running away and they bedded down or hid somewhere, the dog will bring you to an area and either you as the handler or one of the backup officers that you have with you will actually see the person before the dog sees the person, because the dog's, everything he's doing is just on the scent. And I've been to trainings, you could talk about scent on tracks literally for days. There's people that they write books about it. It's a very complicated thing. And I don't want everybody to fall asleep. So, but to his point, like everything that we do is through scent, whether it's narcotics, article searches, tracking people, it's all nose work for the dog. And it actually tires them out more. Like if I took him out and I just played fetch with the ball for 5 minutes, or I took him out and I have him do an article search, it tires the dog out more to do the article search because it engages more of his brain. He's not just running and getting a ball and bringing it back. You know what I mean? He's processing all the scent that he's getting in, and he's everything going on in his brain. So it tires him out more. What was another question?
How do you train the dog to have 28 scents?
So, like I was saying, Lucas's narcotics, he only has about half a dozen scents. And his question was, how do you train a dog on 28 scents? Which is a great question because I didn't touch on it really. So the key to everything is this ball right here. Dogs are usually either food reward or toy reward. Lucas does not care about food. He only cares about his ball. Some dogs don't really care so much for a ball as a reward, but they love to get a snack, a cookie, when they do what they're supposed to do. So everything that we train we've trained Lukas to do, his reward is this ball, literally. Not this, I've been through about 100 of these. But this is his favorite thing in the world. We have tugs like this we'll use sometimes. I use this for doing narcotic work. And it's literally just a piece of fabric that he wants to, you can grab onto it and you tug it. But so when we start training the dogs to do any of the jobs, whether it's tracking, article searches, narcotics, when the dog does what we want him to do, he gets rewarded with the ball. So you start off, like article searches is one of the first things we train the dogs to do. And you start off by having the dog see you put something down. So we could take like a set of keys and we'd have the dog watch us, walk out into an open area, put the ball down with the set of keys. So the dog thinks, I know my ball's over there, right? So the dog goes over, gets the ball. The keys just happen to be there. That's how you first start off. You do it 100 times, and eventually you take the ball away, and he associates the keys being there with his ball. So then they'll start to investigate the keys. You reward that good behavior. And just, everything is repetition, and everything is rewarded with the ball. So at the end, by the end of it, the dog knows to find something that has human odor on it. It could be anything. I use a set of keys just as an example. And then the dog will lay down on it and wait for you to come over and reward him with the ball. So that's the same concept for everything that the dog, all the jobs that the dog does, it's the same training concept. Ball reward, so it's a positive reward experience for the dog. Nothing that we do training the dogs is negative, is a negative experience. They're never punished for anything, I guess is the best way to think about it. We don't, if they do something wrong, we simply ignore it. If they're presenting a behavior that you don't like, you just ignore it. And when they do something that you like, you reward them with the ball. It's very similar to children. Trying to raise my kids that way. Instead of, maybe 100 years ago, you'd slap the kid because he did something you didn't like. Just ignore it. And then praise the good things. That's like the core values of training a working dog.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
What happens to him when he reaches 8? Does he still stay with you as a dog?
Yeah, so that's another great point. So we acquired him through the Stanton Foundation, which is a grant program out of Boston. And they have an endowment of, I think, $150 million. And they use the interest off that to fund K9 programs. And they also fund, has everybody heard about the dog park going in off of Lyman Street at Chauncey? Yeah. If you see Stanton Foundation, it's the same program. They also give programs out for dog parks. And I don't know exactly how that one works, but for the K9 programs, it's $50,000 that they give to buy the dog, buy equipment, and to send the handler to school. So as you can imagine, it adds up. So we acquired him through that grant. We got about $53,000 to start the program. And the town signs a contract with the Stanton Foundation. And one of the stipulations is after 3 years of the dog working, no matter what happens to the dog, because I don't want to say a lot, but a certain percentage of dogs get hurt or something happens where they can't work anymore. There's a stipulation in the contract that says that the dog has to stay with the handler, until the end of life. So he's mine. Whenever he retires, I don't know if I'm going to let him in the house. My fiance thinks he's coming in the house. Well, I'll pick up that fight when I need to. But so he'll be with me till end of life after he retires. And like I said, I've been really lucky with him. I haven't had he hasn't had any physical issues at all. So I might be able to get 2 years left out of him. But I'm hoping to get till next summer, and then we'll kind of evaluate where we're going. Hopefully the department is going to continue the program on, and we'll cross that bridge when we need to.
Does that mean that you can't get another dog after this one?
I don't know. I have to, like I said, reevaluate at the time. As much as I would love to, and I'm not just saying this is actually how I feel about it. As much as I would love to do another dog, it's kind of a privilege It's something I've wanted to do since I was 12 years old. And I remember almost the day I was like, I want to grow up and I want to be a police officer and I want to have a K9. But I've enjoyed the experience so much that I almost like want somebody else to be able to do it too. I mean, there's 40 people on our police department. I was lucky enough to get the first dog that we had in 15 years. So, you know, if it turns out that nobody wants to do it, I certainly would. However, it's just the way I think about things in life, I suppose. I was lucky enough to do it. It would almost be just as happy for me to see somebody else be able to do it. You know what I mean? So we'll cross that bridge maybe next year, and we'll go from there.
How do you evaluate the dog?
So the question was, how do I evaluate the dog? And I guess the easiest answer is I don't necessarily evaluate the dog, but I think maybe what you mean is how is he evaluated in a bigger scope of things. So every year we go to a certification, one for patrol and one for narcotics. It's a nationally recognized certification. We do ours Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving. I've done it the last 3 years, I believe. And it's basically, we go there, it's North American Police Work Dog Association, NAPWATER is what the short is. And they have a list of all the jobs that the dog is supposed to be able to do, and can that dog do them proficiently. So they have judges there, nobody that we know, they're from all over like the Northeast basically. And we just get together and they give us scenarios and we run the dog through everything to make sure he's proficient in everything that he needs to do. And the narcotics is the same thing. We do building searches and car searches for narcotics, same thing. Judges come from aren't affiliated with us at all, and we run them through to make sure that they can do what they need to do.
Are there certain rules that you have to follow legally so nobody can come back on you that the dog attacked an innocent? Are you aware of anything like that? Like I know the police, you know.
So the question is if the dog, and I don't like that word attack, but if the dog were to bite somebody,
Okay.
so no, there are not necessarily protections. I could talk about this for hours too. So I've been very lucky with Lukas, and that's actually one of the most important, this is my opinion, one of the most important things you do as a canine handler is you need to be able to control your dog. You need to know where you're putting that dog for exactly that reason. We do not want to bite a bystander. I don't even want to bite the bad guy, and I can talk about that for a long time too. But there's not necessarily protections. If you're negligent, you know, if I went into a crowd with the dog and I'm going to be liable for it. Not only me, but the department and the town. So it is a great responsibility to not let that happen. It has not happened with any civilians or any bystanders with Lukas. We've only had a couple of apprehensions with him. Everything went smoothly. To speak to that point, so if the dog, and this is not just me, this is anywhere in the country, if we're going for a quote-unquote bad guy, and the bad guy's hiding in a shed in the backyard, we know that he just carjacked somebody, so he committed a felony, and he used a weapon, so we know he's a violent, dangerous person, right? That's a lot of the calls that we get with the dog are for violent people. We give them every opportunity to not get bit. We make announcements, and that's a great thing with the body cameras now, everything's documented. So the bad guy can say, I didn't hear the police, we make announcements. Police K9 makes so known the dog's gonna find and may bite you. Say it multiple times. We do it, if somebody ran into the woods and we're out there tracking, multiple times I'll be yelling, Police K9 makes self known, because 95% of the time, when you get close to a bad guy with a police dog, they don't hide. They come out like this and they say, okay, take me to jail. It's the 1%. It's that 1% bad guy that does not care that the dog's gonna apprehend to get him into custody. But we give people every opportunity. If a bad guy gets bit by a police dog, it's there, it's on them. I can guarantee you that. Because we give people every opportunity for that not to happen, and for them to give up peacefully, come out from hiding, so that the dog does not have to apprehend them.
You brought it up yourself. You said a bad guy disarmed. Did you say that, right?
What did I say?
You said the dog is, you're pursuing a bad guy that's armed, okay?
Potentially.
Potentially armed. Has a police dog have greater legal status than property?
No, in Massachusetts, a police dog is property.
Okay,
But with that being said,
okay.
if there's a bad guy held up, say we track a bad guy to a shed, we know he has a gun. We know for a fact he has a gun. We have him on camera, something, for whatever reason, we know that that guy has a gun. We're not sending the dog on a suicide mission. If we have somebody contained, we know that they're armed, I'm not gonna send my dog in there so that the guy can shoot the dog.
I think you know what I mean versus maybe everybody else.
Yes, so, yeah, in Massachusetts, the police dog is not considered a police officer. So say somebody was stabbing or trying to shoot the police dog, we cannot engage somebody in deadly force just on that fact. The dog is considered property, which is why you take every precaution to have that not happen. However, as we probably all know, when you're in scenarios with criminals, people with bad intentions, things happen very quickly. And seconds feel like, I mean, I could tell you many stories. And it kind of goes to the media and police relations. When you see things on TV, I've been to many scenes that I've seen reported on TV, and every single time I'm like, that's not how it happened. I was there. I can tell you from experience. So just, keep that as a grant. I can talk about it. I'm not going to go down that road. And any other questions, specific stuff?
You're wearing so much equipment. Does the dog wear anything, a camera or a two-way radio or?
No, so he said, I'm wearing so much equipment. Believe it or not, I actually, so Corporal MacNeil here has our new outer carriers, which is I'm wearing an outer carrier here. So basically what it does is it takes a lot of stuff that we used to carry on our belt and puts it up on our chest. And I can't tell you how much nicer and more comfortable this is. The old days of having everything on your belt ruins your back. It's extremely uncomfortable in the cruiser. And, as you can imagine, we find ourselves in the woods a lot, roaming around, jumping over stone walls and going through brush. Having everything on your chest is so much easier and more comfortable and everything. So I actually don't have too much on me that every other patrol officer doesn't have. The only thing is like the hot and pop right here, which is a button that opens the door on my car. So say I got out of the car and I wanted the dog, I can hit the button, the door opens, and he comes to find me. Young lady?
If you're tracking or trying to find a child that's having a mental situation, when the dog finds,
Yep, I know. Can I finish it for you? I know what you're gonna ask, I think. So her question is, if we're looking for a child that's having some sort of mental issue, running away or something, and the dog's gonna potentially track that child to find them. So this is another ongoing issue in the country, really, is do we want patrol dogs like Lukas tracking people in crisis? They didn't necessarily do anything wrong, but we want to find them, right? So there are parts of the country that don't track ever with patrol dogs. They'll use hounds or retrievers, Labradors, that never apprehend ever. They only use their nose to follow scent. So that goes back to the other question, is it's on the handler. And we track a lot of people in crisis, not necessarily just children. Adults, mental health issues that run away, whatever. We do a lot of that. And it comes down to the handler, recognizing things in the dog that we might be getting close to somebody. Not sending our dog, like say a shed, I often use it as an example. We're not gonna let the dog go in a shed without, especially if we're looking for somebody in crisis, we're not just sending the dog in there blindly because we don't want them to get bit. So it really comes down to your training, and it comes down to the handler recognizing all those things.
Now, if the person is found and they have an instinct to pat the dog, I mean,
So the dog should never get that close, is what it comes down to.
oh,
Yeah. So like I was saying earlier, the dog is using so much of its nose. More often than not, we see the person before the dog even recognizes that the person is right there. It depends on the environment and stuff, but. Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Because I could talk for hours.
Caleb, I just want to add something. You know, Lukas has been great too. Caleb talked about the ability for him to find articles. We've had situations where officers are out in the woods or walking through a neighborhood, maybe you drop your car keys, you drop your flashlight, stuff like that. And Lukas is then able to go out afterwards when everything's in control and usually find these. And we're talking in fields, in the woods. Like, he can find this lost equipment for us. And it really, like, people don't know that about Lukas, and that the stuff that he does for the town and saving money is for lost equipment, because, you know, it's.
I've lost my keys twice, and I've since changed how I have my key. I have a little pocket in my cargo pants where this key fits perfect, so it won't fall out. But before I had this style key, I've lost my key 2 different times in the woods with him. And I went back to my cruiser and I'm like, oh my God, the chief's gonna kill me. Because these keys are like $300. And then I realized, holy moly, I have a dog right here. So I sent the dog out, and both times, sure enough, he found the keys for me. But I've had multiple things in town where he's found, articles of evidence just after, domestic, where an item was thrown. He's located things multiple times. So it's not all the fun stuff that you see on TV of like chasing people. Like, a lot of it's pretty mundane. After everything's calmed down, take the dog out, do article searches. Just one instance, I tracked somebody from a car stop. He fled a car stop. We tracked, found him, placed him under arrest, put Lukas back in the car, let him rest for 5 minutes, took him back out, and then I just did an article search with him on the route that we took tracking, and he found everything that the guy dropped. Bills that he dropped, he had counterfeit bills, he was falling out of his pocket, that's why he was running away. We found the counterfeit bills, one little tiny chapstick thing that fell out of his pocket that I confirmed with him afterwards. I'm like, was this yours? He's like, yeah, it fell out of my pocket, so. It's not all the fun Hollywood movie stuff that you see on TV.
Where is Lukas?
Lukas is right outside in the car.
Bring him in?
I'm gonna bring him in. I don't know what to do with him because I don't want him jumping over tables. But I'll certainly bring him in so you can see him and see how big he is and all that kind of stuff.
No, it's too rough.
Oh, no, I see. That'd be a good idea.
How does this all or need happen? I give an example.
So she's asking, how do we determine when we need Lukas? There's many different things it can be used for, like we just talked about. It's not always just chasing somebody. I've had a lot of success tracking people from cars that didn't want to stop. We call them failure stops. Usually people are failing to stop a car stop for a reason, right? They have a warrant, they just committed a crime. I've had a lot of success with him off of those car stops. When somebody flees and we're there within a few minutes, because the scent is so fresh. I've had multiple in town that we've caught. We're also part of SEMLEC, which is the Central Mass Law Enforcement Council, which is basically almost every town in Worcester County signs an agreement that says we're gonna help each other out. So there's a K9 unit, a SEMLEC motorcycle unit, a drone unit, SWAT team, SWAT negotiators. So especially for a lot of smaller towns that don't have a dog, say, or don't have drones, we band together with SEMLEC and we call each other out. Hey, can you send a K9 over? This is what we have. Can you send a drone over? This is what we have. So I don't only respond to Westboro. I'll go to any of the SEMLEC towns within reason. I'm not going to drive 2 hours to the New Hampshire border unless it's an extended incident.
And Westboro has one dog, right? And
Correct.
one handler. Nobody
Correct.
else handles him but you.
Correct, yep, Westboro is just, I'm the only handler and Lucas is the only dog. But with Semlec, we have, I wanna say 16 dogs in Worcester County alone. And we help each other out like multiple times a week. So like 2 weeks ago, I was in Douglas. I mean, recently we've been to Boylston, Shrewsbury, Webster all the time. So that's how we're called out. Like if I'm not working, I can still be called out.
Yep.
And you know, same goes for all the other Semlec dogs. So we help each other in that way.
How do you determine, or how quickly do you determine whether the dog wants a toy or food for reward?
So with Lucas, it's easy. He only wants his toy.
But how did you know that in the beginning?
You figure it out pretty early in training because when
You
we're
offer both initially?
yes, when we start doing tracking training, it's a lot of food. Without talking for too long, when you start tracking training, you take pieces of a hot dog. It's one way to do it. And you go in a big field and you pat every step. Every other step, you put a piece of a hot dog in it. So the dog goes, ooh, hot dog, ooh, hot dog, ooh, hot dog. Starts following it. And you do this repetitively for many weeks in a cold, wet, rainy field with waterproof boots. And you take away a hot dog every day. So after 2 weeks, there's only one piece of hot dog for every 25 steps. So the dog learns, oh, I'm following this scent to get a reward, following the scent to get a reward. Keep doing that until you get to a track that's half a mile long. Lucas never ate the hot dogs, ever, which was good because, as you can imagine, there's issues when dogs eat foreign foods. So a lot of the guys had issues when they'd go home with their dogs at night. But Lucas didn't care about the hot dogs. He kept going because at the end of the track is the ball. We leave the ball there. So like within days, we know that he doesn't want to be rewarded with food, and it's just a toy reward.
Have Trevor talk and then bring Lucas up.
Yep. So I'm going to have Corporal MacNeil talk a little bit, introduce himself in the corporal position, and then I'll bring Lucas in to say hi to everybody, and we'll go about our day.
Good morning, everybody. I'm not nearly as exciting as Sergeant Polseno and Lucas, which, fun fact, has seniority over me. He was hired first. But no, I'm Corporal MacNeil. I've been with Westboro about 7 years. I've been on midnights the entire time by choice. I'm one of those weirdos. I'm a night owl. I'm part of the community engagement team, the FTO team, which recently we've hired 3 new officers, and then we have another 3 starting, so I've had the pleasure to FTO them a little bit. Just good, introduce them to the town. We got some good new faces coming in for you guys. Sergeant Polseno made a couple points about the track itself and how we'll often see the suspect or the person we're looking for before the K9 will, which I want to touch on because Sergeant Polseno and I work all 4 nights together a week, which I'm very lucky to have him and the K9 with me. But a lot of times I end up as his backup officer on the K9 tracks, which my role in that is to keep him and myself safe. Lucas is going to he's going to lead us to the right direction, he's going to lead us to the right area, but Sergeant Polseno's focus is on Lucas. He's looking for cues, he's looking for behaviors that the dog might show to show that we're in the area or someone's nearby. My job is to keep an eye on him and the surrounding area because, you know, as he said, he might get us to the right area, but who knows if the person's in a bush or whatever the case may be. So we've had a couple instances where I get to go on little hikes through the woods with them, which can be fun, but sometimes it's extended tracks. But no, my main thing, I wanted to talk about the corporal position. I got promoted when Sergeant Polseno did last summer to the new rank of corporal. We never had him in Westboro. There's a lot of questions around it, but the basis of it was because we're a very proud department, we wanted a supervisor on every shift. Unfortunately, we didn't have the numbers to support it at the time. We had many more patrolmen than we had road supervisors as sergeants. So we implemented corporals, which now there's 5 sergeants, 5 corporals. We can rotate, we can take shifts. So if for some reason Sergeant Polseno can't work a night shift and I'm here, that'll cover that supervisor for that shift. Therefore, there's a supervisor always on. My responsibilities, if Sergeant Polseno is here, is the same as a patrolman essentially, unless he needs something from me at a supervisor level. But usually he handles it and I kind of go with the flow with the patrolman and go out, answer calls as normal. If he's not here, my supervisor role kicks in where it's filling shifts, or we have a policy where we book all our prisoners, so we're expected to be in the booking room if we bring somebody in. Or calling out specialties like canines. I've had to call out Sergeant Polseno a couple times from home. One in particular that rings a bell was a B&E we had. Gentleman went into a garage, we knew he went in, the homeowner saw him, and he took off. And I think someone asked back there how we know when to call out the canine. For me, it's a timing thing and severity of the crime. I think if it's a missing person or something, we try to hold off, especially if they're not working. If they're working, Sergeant Polseno's great, he'll come out, we don't even have to ask. But sometimes it's severity of the crime and the time. If the B&E occurred an hour earlier or 2 hours earlier, the chance of him finding a good track is, I don't want to say impossible, but it's less likely. Whereas the one I'm thinking of, it was 10 minutes we were there, and the guy took off, we saw the direction he took off, or the homeowner saw the direction, we called Sergeant Polseno, and him and Lukas came out. And I don't remember if we ended up finding that individual, but that's kind of the time frame. It's really how quickly after, that's when we decide. But mainly I wanted to open it up to any questions about the corporal position, just because I know, especially within the department, it happened very quickly. We ourselves had some questions, so I didn't know if anyone here had questions about that position in general.
Sure, can you talk about the training that you go through, if it's different than the sergeants or if it's the same?
Sure. So the question was the training that we go through, which, as far as I'm concerned, it was all the same. We went to a 2-week supervisor school in Rhode Island. We learned anything from leadership, how to discipline, what we may see as a supervisor, kind of how to make decisions, how to look at it from, how to pull yourself out of the situation, because obviously when you're on patrol, you're in it, you're on the front lines. When we're supervisors are in that role, usually we're showing up after the fact and trying to gather all the information and how to handle the call, the situation while keeping everyone safe. So there's many, there's a million trainings we can go to. I've gone to a couple myself, but that was the main one. The 2-week training we went to in Rhode Island. I'll circle back to FTO. We have, like I said, we have 3 people starting or on FTO now. We have 3 more that we're going to hire within the next couple of weeks, which should bring us back to our normal numbers. It's good, it's rewarding, especially for me. I've only been on 7 years, which sounds like a short time, but in the police world, you see a lot. And it's good, we have a couple of 22-year-olds that just started. And it's just funny just to see, their different outlook on certain calls we may go on or whatever the case may be, but it's a different outlook for the department. And I think it's good to try to get those new faces out there. And it's good for the town because people can relate more. We have a younger group of people that we deal with, so it's good.
Is this new position like a stepping stone to go even higher?
Yeah, so he goes patrol, and then I'm just above patrol at a corporal. Corporal is sergeant, sergeant to lieutenant. So I hate to use the term, but it feels like we're almost a sergeant in training, which I enjoy because, like I said, I work with Sergeant Polseno, who's very knowledgeable. So I get to see. It's almost like a extended training. That's how at least I'm using it. I know a lot of us are using it that way. But again, we're expected to handle everything the same way a sergeant would if the sergeant's not there. That's our expectation. That's what we expect from ourselves. That's what the department expects from us. But it is good when Sergeant Polseno's on shift. We get to bounce questions off each other and kind of work through things together. So it's definitely good.
You've been saying FTO. Maybe I missed.
Sorry, I apologize.
No. Maybe it was explained earlier, and I don't.
No, I didn't. It's a field training officer.
Okay.
So essentially, they'll have, usually when people start in Westboro, they'll have a 3-month field training stint where they'll ride with certified field training officers, which is a 3-day course in itself to go learn how to teach new, younger officers how to get on. Not always younger, I mean, some guys start later in life, but new officers that are new to the department kind of get the hang of things. And the biggest thing in Westboro is how things work in Westboro. I mean, we're not super busy like a city, but we also have our fair share of calls. So a lot of times it's, orientation of the town, phone numbers to reach out to if you have a question, or if, come to the senior center, we get resources for them. So I've had the luxury of riding around with them a couple times the last couple weeks. And it's good. It's more we're there to answer any questions. A lot of guys come over laterally, so they'll come from another department. The 3 we just hired, they're straight out of the academy, but I think the second 3 we just hired are coming over lateral. So they already have the police knowledge and how, certain calls should go. But for us as field training officers, it's an opportunity to let them know, hey, this is how we do it in Westboro, this is our policies, this is what's expected. So we can kind of guide them down the right path as a field training officer. Yes?
Great move by the department and well shared to us.
Appreciate it. We enjoy it. I definitely enjoy it. Like I said, it's a new role. It's a challenge sometimes just to kind of get the feel of it, what's expected, but it's good. I think the 5 corporals have embraced it well. And I think it's finally settling down. It's like I said, because we were trying to figure out a good solution to have supervisors on every shift, it kind of happened quickly. But I think, like you said, I think it's good, and I think it's a step in the right direction. Yes?
I use the term how a call should go. Let's explore that a little bit. Let's say there's a call, and the response is, there's usually more than one officer responds. Let's say there's 2 patrolmen and 1 corporal, right? And so they interrogate the individual that they're responding to the call from. Who makes the decision as to whether there's an apprehension, an arrest, a warning? Is it all on the corporal, or is there what used to be, what I believe used to be, that if there was 3 patrolmen, they would kind of confer and,
Right.
I don't know, flip the
So
coin or
the
something.
question is, who makes essentially the final decision
Yes, who
on
makes
what
the
happens on a call?
Yes, the outcome.
At least from my standpoint, when I'm in the supervisor role, my goal is make sure all my guys are safe and the individual we're dealing with is safe. If no one gets hurt,
Okay.
that's how the call should go. That's all I care about, really.
So nobody gets arrested?
Not necessarily. I mean, I try to stay out of those decisions because, again, like I say, I'm secondary. So usually I'm showing up after they were already there. They have all the information. We have a very well-run department where the bottom guy knows just as much as the top usually. So I don't, we're lucky as supervisors, at least I feel that way, where not a lot of decisions are laid solely on us.
Okay.
I'll speak with Officer Faria. He has a lot of experience where I'll show up and he's already figured out what he wants to do.
Okay.
And I'll kind of just come up to him, hey, what do you have? What do you got? This is what happened, A, B, and C. I think we should do this. Great. No one gets hurt. We're not violating any rights.
Okay.
We move on. So it's not, to your point, it's very similar to the old days where we kind of have a quick conversation. It's not, I mean, if something goes sideways, it's going to be on one of the supervisors to make the decision. But yeah, for the most part, it's really just a group effort and whatever they think is best. As long as, like I said, as long as no one's hurt, no one's getting their rights violated, we're good to go.
Okay, thank you.
So you say you've been on the department for 7 years.
Correct,
In
yep.
the 7 years, how have you seen the nature of the calls changing in Westboro?
In my opinion, and again, I said I work strictly midnights, so I get a kind of a lessened view of the calls for service per se. But I definitely think over my time here, it's improved in the sense that we're not getting as many calls for service. I know my supervisors and lieutenants have dealt with it a lot, but I was at the hotels all the time overnight, which doesn't affect you guys very much, but those hotels in particular gave us a lot of issues a couple years ago. Whereas now, I mean, we go there maybe once a week. And then just because of that, I feel like people from the hotels used to branch out and you know, they'd be around town or just getting into any kind of mischief around town, where those calls for service also have gone down, which we take pride in as a department. I think we're a very proactive department where you don't always know what you stop when you're out on the road. You know what I mean? If we're driving around, someone sees us, they might not do whatever they were thinking of doing, whether it be breaking into a car or a house or whatever it may be. So we don't really know how much we stop, but to your point, what we can say is the calls for service have definitely gone in our favor because of how often we're out there.
Somebody had mentioned, talking about some scams that are going on.
Yeah, so that was the other thing I was gonna brush up on, because someone asked me this morning, it was the first question I got. They received a letter, I'm sure many of us have. They received a letter saying, you know, someone in your family passed away, they left you a bunch of money. You have to consent to, they're all along the same lines of, they're gonna say, they left you money or they left you property, you have to call in and confirm your name and your social so that we can send you the money. Obviously, a lot of people call in thinking they're gonna win $10 million. They give up their social and now they have all your information, they can empty bank accounts, anything. Don't answer those, please. If someone's sending you $10 million, I promise you they're gonna have all your information anyways. They don't need to ask your permission to send you $10 million. The other big one is the Easy Pass. I don't know how many of you got the text. That's going around everywhere. I get one text a week. Don't answer anything. I know some people like to give a snarky response or like, I know what you're doing. Don't answer, because I don't think they can, but we have no idea if they can get more information from a response or anything. Just delete it, block the number, whatever you can. Easy Pass doesn't send text messages for money, ever. They'll send you a certified letter in the mail or a bill. The other big one I know of is people call for bail a lot. They'll call, you know, hey, it's your grandson. And with, I don't know if you guys have heard about the AI stuff, but they can copy voices now on cell phones. If someone's calling for bail, just ask to speak with the officer. Okay, if they're calling, if you know, hey, I got locked up, I need $10,000 for bail, send me your bank account so I can get it out. Ask to speak with the officer. We'll set it straight. We'll let you know whether or not they're locked up, or there's not going to be an officer and they're going to hang up on you. The main thing is you can call us whenever. If you think something sounds fishy, like someone else asked me a question, if something sounds off or doesn't make sense to you, feel free to call. We get calls all day long about possible fraud or frauds that actually worked. But they're good. People, they do this for a living, so they're good at what they do. They're good at tricking people. So don't be ashamed if you know you do get tricked into losing a couple bucks. We want to know about it so we can prevent the next one.
I've had a lot of calls lately, saying, you know, quote, published clearinghouse, millions of dollars in Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
Constant, even face mailing.
And that's what I mean, and they're probably asking you for your social or whatever. Yeah. If they're trying to give away money, they're gonna have all your info. They're not gonna ask you for permission to send you that money, if that makes sense.
Well, I told them, I said, I know that this is a scam, please stop calling me. And I'm hanging up. I heard the gentleman say to me in not very pleasant terms, I won't say what he said.
Yeah. No, they get upset when you catch on to them,
Yeah,
which tempts you sometimes. Sometimes I'll play with them, but it's not a good idea.
No.
Don't do it, because you never know what kind of information they're gonna get from you. So, but no, the main point, like I said, is if you ever have a question of something, or you think you might have been scammed, or you think you're gonna be scammed, feel free to call in. We can look into it. I can't promise you we're gonna stop it, because like you said, they're gonna call from a different number, or they're gonna find a way to reach you, but just don't give out any information over the phone unless you're sure who you're talking to. All right, any other questions? Yep.
I am getting a call, and this has been going on forever, to write a check to the police department and put it on my front door, and somebody will pick it up.
No. Yeah, we're not. So the question was, she's getting calls to write a check to the police department and leave it on the front door.
Yeah, a lot of those.
Yeah, we will never, ever ask you guys for checks. And we'll definitely never have you leave it on the front door. If we ever needed anything from you, we'll either come get it ourselves or set up some kind of meeting face to face. We'll never do it. We'll never do anything electronically. I mean, nothing like that. At least not with when it involves money. We might ask for an email or something here or there, but no, don't. If you get calls especially for us asking for money, it's any police department for that matter. We're not that's not how it works. We're not asking for money from the townspeople, and we're definitely not asking you to leave it on the front door. So, do you know, is that coming in a letter, or are you getting a phone call?
Phone call.
Look at the dog.
Do you remember what they say?
Oh, yeah.
What the association, do they say like they're a part of some association?
Yeah, police, they keep using the word, police.
Right.
And they're donations.
Okay.
I get it early in the morning and then later in the afternoon.
Yeah. So she said they're calling, and I think someone else just said they had it as well. They're calling and they keep using the word police and they're looking for donations. We do not look for donations from the townspeople, and definitely not leaving it on the front door like that. So if you're getting those calls, please do not leave any money.
No, I said, we'll make a donation, Westboro.
Right.
I will deliver it myself.
That would be the only way, but don't even, we love what we do. You don't need to give us donations. We'll be there anyway. I promise our response time will be the same no matter what.
Just a quick comment.
Yeah.
On the 24th, a couple of weeks from Thursday, we're going to be having a talk, a lunch and learn, Central One Credit Union on bank scams. So
There you go. That's a big one, yeah.
questions, and then I think we're.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop talking so you guys can see the K9. That's the exciting part. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is Lukas, and so one of the first things you'll notice is just his nature. A normal dog might come in and want to go say hi to everybody, but in his brain, because almost all he does is work, and his favorite thing in life is to work. That's all he wants to do is do jobs. So he seems like he's a little on edge because he wants to do something. Cool. Basic obedience is something we do all the time, which is just like a healing like this, having it next to me. So he knows that I could heal him around here for 15 minutes and he'll heal around because he knows at the end he gets his ball. Here. Glad. So just that little trick right there, just to get him to stop when he knows that I have his ball, took about 4 months.
Wow.
So because they're so passionate about doing their work, it's hard to get them to stop. That's one of the most difficult things to get police dogs to do is to stop. Oops. But he knows that if he does what I want him to do, then he gets his ball. And like I said, he doesn't have manners, so we don't want him knocking people over. But unlike a retriever that, a Labrador that people might have at home, he'll go fetch his ball, but he's not fetching it like a Labrador does it because the act of fetching is what they like. He likes this. He just wants to tug it.
Yeah.
So he'll if I throw it, he'll begrudgingly go get it, but he's only going to get it because he wants to bring it back to me and do this. And as you can imagine, he's pretty strong. He's only about 85 pounds. A lot of people think he's like over 100. He's about 85 pounds, but he's pure muscle. So he's very, very strong. No, not at all. It's a correction collar. In fact, if I use a normal collar with him, like we call it a flat collar, which we do with some narcotic stuff, he's very hard to control. And with these collars, she asked if the collar that I have on him is a correction collar. If it hurts, it doesn't hurt him. And we could talk about I could talk about all this stuff for a long time. But main point is, there he is. He's doing his favorite thing in the world right now. And I can play rough with him. I can literally do wrestling moves on him and slam him into the ground and play really rough because you never know what he's going to encounter if he has to apprehend somebody. And every single time, all he does is come back for more. And the reason for that is through training. This is an example right here. He will not let this go, ever. Like, you could literally have to kill him before he'll let this ball go. But the reason is because he knows in his brain that he wins every single time we play this game. So if he knows he wins, he will tug it literally forever until the end of his life, because he knows that eventually I'm gonna let go. So he just won. That just made his day, and then what's he do? He comes right back because he's like, that was great. I got you. I got that ball away from you. So every time we let it go, he's like, oh, he just wants more.
Caleb brings him to the range. We have firearms. Caleb comes to the range with firearms. And he brings Lukas out, and Lukas loves it because he throws the ball once. But then Lukas, instead of just pulling on Caleb, Lukas then goes to all of us and plays tug of war with all of us. So he wins against 35 of us or whatever it is we have out there. So that's a real big treat for him is on range day.
What is his
He's so happy.
usual task? You know, like they say, K9 have a task, tracking or some dogs, other dogs with drug dogs.
Yep, so he
What
does
does he have? Every
patrol
time?
work and narcotics. So he's a dual purpose dog.
Tickle him under the chin and see if he lets it go.
He won't. He won't let it go.
We tried.
I know you're onto something. It's called capping. We actually do that when you do bite work. You grab him by the jowls down here. But he won't let. I could literally choke him out until he was unconscious to get him to let it go.
That's called aggression. My dog has food aggression, the same way.
Same thing.
They'll actually bite if you interfere with his acquiring the ball.
So
If you
he doesn't do that
intercede
anymore.
immediately.
Yeah, that's why I always have these just in case,
Okay.
because you never know.
Yes,
Accidents happen.
So next month, I don't know if you guys remember, they talked about them, the 3 new hires that we had here. Remember we brought them before they went to the academy? Ashlyn and Max Cleveland and Shay Sweeney, the three recruits we brought in here. When did they go to the academy? They went to the academy in September. Maybe. I think we brought them in August. I think that was one of our first. I think that was actually our first one that we had here since we started back up. I think I'm going to try and get the 3 of them back in so that you can see the difference that the 26 weeks of the academy made. And they've been now doing field training, so they'll have been doing it for almost 3 months. So they'll be pretty close to being done field training. So they'll bring their kind of thoughts about the whole process. So we'll have them next time. So that'll be. It's not as fun as Lukas, but they're pretty good. They're pretty good to talk to.
Something we didn't mention is, what about barking? How does that play into all of it? Is it just?
I'll touch on that, 'cause he terrifies me every time I get in the cruiser. But
So
it's
how about this?
2
How
in the
about
morning.
we'll end with a very quick demonstration?
Yeah.
He likes to bark when I get in the car at 2 a.m. Terrifies me.
So like we talked about earlier, when we find people, it's actually a great question. She's asking about barking. Sit. So this is the hardest thing to do, is to get them to let go of the ball when I'm holding on to it. It's almost impossible. So that was pretty good. Yeah. So just imagine we're talking about bad guys, and when we find them, we give announcements. Yeah, just push it off. So if we find somebody, I always use the example, somebody's in a shed. Quiet. We'll give announcements, Police K9, you have to come out, the dog's gonna come in, he may bite you. And then what happens is, I can give him one command and he'll start barking. Quiet. So when you do that, most people come out with their hands up because they don't want to know what that is, right? So that was actually a good question, and it's something that we use all the time. But like everything, you need a way to turn it off too. So getting the dogs to be quiet it's harder to get them to be quiet than it is to teach them to bark. So just to get them to be quiet took us months.
I couldn't see his head when you did that. So is he just show his teeth and all of that?
I would imagine if he's barking, probably I would say it's a dog that you don't really want to come and find you if he doesn't have to, which we try to avoid at all costs. But that's all we have. We'll let you guys go about your day. It was a cool tournament. It's about to start. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it, everybody.